Our reading this morning comes from the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verses 1 through 10. We know them as the Beatitudes. When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up to the mountain, and after he sat down, his disciples came to him, and he began to speak and taught them, saying, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for the sake of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." The word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God.
Peter, one of the primary movers of the early Christian way, has said something in the Acts of the Apostles which is stunning. I truly understand that God shows no partiality, but in every nation, anyone who fears him and does what is right is acceptable to him. So let that linger as the sermon proceeds. This past summer, Nina and I were at Thousand Island Park in the Thousand Islands in the middle of the St. Lawrence River, the place where we spent our honeymoon in 1964. Since then, for over half a century, TIP has been our summer getaway, originally for a month's vacation and now in blessed retirement for several months. It was founded by Methodist ministers in 1875 as a summer campground where mostly Protestant folk went to enjoy the splendor of God's world and listen to speakers talk about significant things. Reading over some of the history recently, I was struck by something that sounds very contemporary. One of their lecturers that summer was asked to train the Methodist Sunday school teachers who were there on how best to teach the gospel to a teenager. And it was themes like that that made the work of these places significant and fun. Nowadays, going from Methodist ministers and Methodists who went there, the diverse population reflects a much more blend of our culture. And so one Sunday in July of this year, several hundred residents gathered at the Tabernacle for a celebration of the park's 150th anniversary. Shoes are filled, as always, with the sawdust that makes up the floor of that tabernacle. It has open sides and metal roof. It's a wonderful place. It actually fell down in the 1930s from heavy snow, and so this is the rebuild of what was original. Nina is the choir director, and her cohorts of Protestants and Catholics sang a timely hymn, "Like a River in My Soul." And then a choir consisting mainly of Hindus, including a powerful tenor, belted out "What the World Needs Now." I dare not sing it. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing that there's too little of. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. No, not just for some, but for everyone. And Jan Warwick is not there, but a Hindu chorus at a Methodist campground. Herein lies the heart of today's sermon. So let's skip back in time, and then we'll come back to TI Park. The setting is September 11, 1893. We're in a building that today houses the Art Institute of Chicago. There were nearly 700 people have gathered for the very first Parliament of the world's religions, part of the Columbia Exposition celebrating Columbus's arrival many years before. Organizers of the Parliament invited persons from 40 religious communions from across the world, among them 19 women, to speak about their various traditions, including Catholics and Jews and Protestants and African American Christians. On top of this were invitees from non-Western religions like Hinduism, Buddhism, that traced their beginnings in the West to that very day, that very week when they participated in this worldwide communion. There were no worshiping communities of these folks anywhere in America, maybe a section or two somewhere, but not much at all. Vivekananda, Swami Vivekananda, gave a brief speech representing India and Hinduism. He began with Sisters and Brothers of America. And remember now, this was the first thing he said from the platform, and the audience stood up, 700 people, and gave him a 2-minute standing ovation. How do you explain that? You can't tell from the photograph you've seen. He wore an orangish kind of robe. There was something stunning about him, something special indeed, and he was really a great orator. And then, after silence was restored, he began his address, and I'm going to read a portion of it for you today. He said, "It fills my heart with unspeakable joy to rise in response to the warm, cordial welcome which you have given us. I thank you in the name of the most ancient order of monks in the world. I thank you in the name of the mother of religions, and I thank you in the name of millions and millions of Hindu people of all classes and sects. I am proud to belong to a religion which has taught the world both tolerance and universal acceptance. We believe not only in universal toleration, listen to this next line, but we also accept all religions as true. We also accept all religions as true. I am proud to belong to a nation which has sheltered the persecuted and the refugees of all religions and all nations of the earth. I'm proud to tell you that we've gathered in our bosom the purest remnant of the Israelites who came to southern India and took refuge with us in the very year in which their holy temple was shattered to pieces by Roman tyranny. I will quote to you, brethren, a few lines from a hymn which I remember to have repeated from my earliest boyhood, which is every day repeated by millions of human beings. As the different streams having their sources in different paths which men take through different tendencies, various though they appear, crooked or straight, all lead to thee. All lead to thee. The present convention, he says, which is one of the most august assemblies ever held, is in itself a vindication, a declaration to the world of the wonderful doctrine preached in the Gita. Whoever comes to me through whatsoever form, I reach him. All men are struggling through paths which in the end lead to me. Sectarianism, bigotry, and its horrible descendant, fanaticism, have long possessed this beautiful earth. They have filled the earth with violence, drenched it often, and often with human blood, destroyed civilization, and sent whole nations to despair. Had it not been for these horrible demons, human society would be far more advanced by now. The world's Parliament of Religions has become an accomplished fact, and the merciful Father has helped those who labor to bring it into existence and crowned with success their most unselfish labor. My thanks to those noble souls with large hearts and love of truth, first dreamed this wonderful dream and then realized it. I love this next sentence. It's very much the Swami. A few jarring notes were heard from time to time in this harmony. My special thanks to them, for they have, by their striking contrast, made general harmony sweeter. Much has been said of the common ground of religious unity, and I'm not going now to venture my own theory, but if anyone here hopes that this unity will come by the triumph of any of the religions and destruction of the others, I say to him, brothers, yours it is an impossible hope. Do I wish that Christians would become Hindu? God forbid. Do I wish that Hindus or Buddhists would become Christian? God forbid. The seed is put in the ground, and earth and air and water are placed around it. Does the seed become the earth or the air or the water? No, it becomes a plant. It develops after the law of its own growth, assimilates the air, the earth, and the water, converts them into plant substances, and grows them into a plant. Similar is the case with religion. The Christian is not to become a Hindu or a Buddhist, nor a Hindu or a Buddhist to become a Christian. But each must assimilate the spirit of the others, and yet preserve his individuality and grow according to his own law of growth. I'll step away from his talk for just a minute to tell one of the stories he liked to tell wherever he traveled, and I've always been struck by it. It's about frogs. It must be very, very much part of his Indian background in India, and you sort of have to make up in your mind what the landscape looked like. But there were wells. There were hand-dug wells all around communities. And in these wells were often great, great bunches of frogs. They were just a frog's delight. And so the Swami would say, the frogs come out around a particular well. And there are a bunch of them, and they run around, swarm around, having a great time, and they go right back down into their own well. Then 100 yards away, there's another well, and frogs come out of that one and run around and do their thing and then go right back into their well. He said, this is what world religious people do. People in world religions. They step out into the world, do their thing, and then hustle right back into their safety zone, into their well. They don't stay out in the world to mingle with the frogs from all across the community. He would tell that story with great glee. And he says in his speech going on, if the Parliament of Religions has shown anything to the world, it is this. It has proved to the world that holiness, purity, and charity are not the exclusive possessions of any church in the world. I'll say that again. It has proved to the world that holiness, purity, and charity are not the exclusive possessions of any church in the world. And every system has produced men and women of the most exalted character. In the face of this evidence, if anyone dreams of the exclusive survival of his own religion and the destruction of the others, I pity him from the bottom of my heart and point out to him that upon the banner of every religion will soon be, this never happened, upon the banner of every religion will soon be written, in spite of resistance, harmony and peace and not dissension. Would that have been true? The Boston Evening Transcript reported that Vivekananda was a great favorite at this parliament. If he merely crosses the platform, he is applauded. He spoke several more times on universality and religious tolerance and made a huge impression as an orator. Hearing Vivekananda speak, Harvard psychology professor William James said, that man is simply a wonder of oratorical power. He is an honor to humanity. I'm trying to say enough about him to stress how this one individual wearing an orangish robe, we never have color photographs of that, an orangish robe turned this community of people from across the world into a community of love and respect that particular day. As I have reflected on his message and his hearers' reaction to it, I have the impression that this monk from the East must have wished that he could lower the temperature of a world in which the flames of sectarianism, bigotry, and fanaticism are constantly being stoked. That world bothered him very much. Just think, nearly 30 years before this, Americans North and South quoted different verses from the same Bible as the Civil War took the lives of 600,000 human beings. At the close of the Parliament, Swami Vivekananda toured America for several years, with this being his calling card. I do not come to convert you to a new belief. I want you to keep your own belief. I want to make the Methodist a better Methodist, the Presbyterian a better Presbyterian, the Unitarian a better Unitarian. I want to teach you to live the truth, to reveal the light within your own soul. Along the way, Harvard University offered him a chair in Eastern philosophy, as did Columbia. By the summer of 1895, he was exhausted and took an offer of a person who had attended the Parliament, took an offer to come rest at her cottage in Thousand Island Park, New York. It's an amazing world. So now we have come full circle to try to understand why Hindus from Canada and the United States still come to TIP to worship in that same residence every summer, which now bears the name Vivekananda Cottage. Vivekananda's last lesson there that summer, he stayed 2 weeks, to a small group of students before leaving from his stay, was a verse from the Beatitudes, one of his favorite gospel passages. He knew the Bible backwards and forward. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. This sentence alone, he said, would save mankind if all books and prophets were lost. This purity of heart, he says, will bring the vision of God. It is the theme of the whole music of the universe. In purity is no bondage. Remove the veils of ignorance by purity. Then we manifest ourselves as we really are and know that we were never in bondage. See, all is self with a capital S, and love all. That all idea of separateness go. And then he says this about everybody. The diabolical man is part of my body as a wound or a burn is. We have to nurse and get it better. So continually nurse and help the diabolical man until he heals and is once happy and healthy. Then off went the Swami back to India, where he had a ministry as a monk living among the poor and the downtrodden with a heart of nearly pure gold. He died of an aneurysm at the age of 39, so his life was brief. But his life has made an impact on countless saints like Gandhi and others, Hindus included, who come to Thousand Island Park each summer. What the world needs now are folks with a bent toward the Beatitudes and a striving toward hearts pure enough to see God, especially as the Swami did in the lives of others, in the self of others. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. It is in movements of such clarity that we're set free for lives of compassion and mercy, striving to do what is right and acceptable to God. Our God is a gracious God. An email came this week as I was preparing my sermon that brought some real clarity about our response to what the world needs now. It's from Margaret Lyerly, and I have her permission to quote from it. She and Barry have been in Scottsdale, where late they've become friends with their Uber driver. Listen carefully to what she wrote under the heading, My Outrage and Hope. He's from Afghanistan, fought with U.S. troops there, is an American citizen. He's married with 3 children and makes a mean hummus and baklava, which he has given us as treats. Last week, he picked up a fare at the Phoenix airport and was followed until the drop-off. Then the car that was following him cut him off. 2 ICE agents got out and wanted him to get out of the car. He locked himself in, pressed his U.S. passport against the window of the car, yelled that he was a citizen, and luckily he had a cell phone. He called his lawyer. The agents tried to break the glass on the driver's side and the windshield. They screamed that he should be deported because of the way he looked. Deported because of the way he looked. His lawyer showed up in 10 minutes with the police, and the ICE agents were arrested, and my friend was unhurt. While this is deeply upsetting, Margaret has said, I'm encouraged by the news that the sheriff of Maricopa County in Phoenix, in preparation for the next wave of ICE agents, is ready to ready to arrest any of the ICE agents breaking the law. She says, your conclusions from this incident may be different from mine, but I hope that the U.S. returns to a country where its citizens can go about their business without being harassed. Margaret. In a follow-up email, she says, I was hoping that by spreading a true story, this might move some people an inch. It will move people a mile. For it's the kind of story we need to tell from our hearts. For we know what's going on. We are not oblivious to what's happening in our country. We know these stories are true, but we need to hear them from our friends and neighbors, and then decide what we will do. Amen.